Hi. So it seemed like there were a few questions about AAF and the American Advertising Awards and how things run there. A lot of you aren't really interacting with that, but just to give you some context and make you aware of what's going on with them, I thought we'd have this little crash course. A couple things we're going to cover. I want to make sure you know some of the names of people you're going to be seeing coming through. Let's talk about the program structure, who's handling what, and any questions that you guys might have. So AF was Open Water's really first real high budget client. I guess when they signed, they were about 70% of our revenue, and now they're maybe 6%. So their share of our revenue is definitely dwindling. But because of the percentage of our budget that they were when they signed, a lot of our basic functionality was built around their spec. You'll see that there are some features that hardly anyone else uses that they use intensely, and you'll just see a lot of little signs of things that maybe didn't make sense before. And then if you start working with AF a little bit, you start figuring out what their purpose is and what they might and what they're really used for. So AAF is they run a huge nationwide program. There's basically it's their entire funding for the organization. So it's really high stakes for them. They bring in about 40,000 entries, about $2 million. It's really important for them that this is a success.
Your local district admins are all volunteers, so they're not getting any money for this. They're doing it at nights and weekends, really just trying to bring in money for their club and for national. It's really good for networking for them and good recognition. They're a big deal. Like, I live in small town Kansas, and people put out press releases for the Addies they win. The little ad agencies around here, they show them off. They love it. It's a lot of good recognition for them. So they're a big deal. They're high stakes, and they're not huge impact on us, but it's a huge impact for them. There's a couple people names you're going to see that come around that you want to know. First one is Joanne Schechter, I think. She's in charge of things. She's really the top dog for the Addies. She's full-time, paid in DC. She doesn't really get involved very much, except for during the renewal stuff and towards the end of the year with her gala planning. She really is very much the decider with things. So she's kind of the buck stops here. The other person, one of the other people you'll see is George. He's volunteer. He's really head of the Addies, second to Joanne. He runs a program in Seattle and District 11, and you can't really get off the phone with him. He just takes a really long time. So if you ever end up on a phone call with him, be prepared for that.
Okay.
We usually like to start a timer just to see how long it takes, just for fun. And then Sarah Yoskowski, she started about a month after I actually started with Open Water. She's paid. She's in DC as well. She's really the coordinator. So she's one of those people that doesn't get a lot of praise, but she actually kind of makes everything happen. You hear from her every day, and she's super busy. She's talking to the clubs every day. She probably is a lot of the reason now that they bring in the revenue, because she actually does a really good job with what she's doing. Any questions so far?
Nope.
I didn't think so. Okay, so their program structure is actually pretty straightforward. It's a nationwide roll-up program. There's the club level, so they have about 200 clubs and 179 participate. They have to pay their dues to participate. So I got an email from Sarah yesterday that said, these clubs are barred from participating because they haven't paid their bill. So they have to pay their dues to be able to participate, and if they don't, we have to basically block them, remove any access from them. The entrance, they submit through their local club. It's based on their, I think it's based on where the ad actually ran. So, for example, if someone works in, let's say someone works in Kansas City, but they happen to run an ad in St. Louis, they would submit through St. Louis. They submit into one of like 98 categories. They've got subcategories, but every club is allowed to set up local-only categories. They can have as many as they want, but those categories, those local-only categories, cannot forward up to district, which we'll talk about in a minute. There's 4 category groups based on the type of entry, so they can do campaigns. They can do a single spot. They can do digital, and I've forgotten what the other category group is, but it's based on the scope of the work that they're submitting. Their payment gateways and submission fees vary by club. That's the bulk of what we do as far as setting things up. Finley, I'm sure you're well aware of that by now. A lot of what we do for them is setting up their gateways and their submission fees. And that's really where they come into a lot of problems as well. Each club has their own landing page, and they can actually customize that landing page and their invoices. There's some basic content that's set by National that they can't edit, but they have a little bit that they can tweak, and they can add content to it. They just can't take away from what National has. They can do their own header banner and everything like that, and AAF actually has a custom theme. So setting up the clubs. We start the setup in mid-July. So that's Zach and myself and Manisha working through duplicating things over from last year, getting just some of the basic stuff, copying over their settings and so on. In August, National sends out email blasts. So they start trying to get their clubs to start the setup process as early as possible to avoid any rushes. So far, that hasn't really happened. We get a rush about mid-October that's basically a lot of people having an oh shit moment and realizing I need to get this going so I can get entries in. They have 2 ways that they can do it. They can do a fast track. We send them their login information and documentation on how to set things up, and they handle it. They send in questions occasionally, but those are usually your more tech-savvy people that are familiar with, they've been doing it for multiple years, so they're familiar with how to do things. The other option is the OpenWater configured. So we send them a AAF tailored pre-launch with their configuration from last year. They edit it and send it back, and then we apply it. And ideally everyone runs some test entries before they launch. I'd say that happens 80% of the time, depending on their time frame and how rushed they are to launch. Like I said, there's a rush in second week of October. Probably get about 25% of the clubs that come in that week. And then there's probably going to be another rush next week around Thanksgiving. People are starting to realize that they're getting to the end of the year and they need to get these going. Usually you get new admins every year, so there's a lot of repeat questions. It's great for the basics. It was basically my training program when I started, was answering all these questions from AAF. Push the user guide for them because it's got all the information they need. And like I said, a decent portion of the support load, Helen, that you'll see is payment gateways. Clubs are not allowed to close their programs before January 1. So first 2 weeks of January, you get a lot of people closing down their competitions. it. Zach, would you say first week of January, especially as deadlines come up, is probably our busiest time?
Yeah, I think over the last year, maybe two, it started to push back. So I would say we're looking at anywhere between January 5th to January 20th. That kind
Mhm.
of 2 to 3 week period is absolutely insane, and we get the most traffic. Thanks to all
Most
the
traffic,
AF.
most questions.
Yeah,
You've got
so our, and that's not even just with AF. We just pure luck. We have a bunch of huge programs closing.
Yeah.
In that time, I think Peabody's and
Mhm.
so yeah, it's
Yeah.
busy.
It's real busy. So we get a rush mid-January. Mid to late December, it's a lot of fee change and errors questions, especially with the fast track ones, and especially if they didn't do a test entry. And then January, you've got how do I change my deadlines? How do I set up my judging? And how do I get all these reports? Unfortunately, Christmas through Martin Luther King Day is the busiest season for AAF, probably. They forward up to districts. There's a couple of winner types, gold, silver, bronze. Gold entries forward for free. Silver have the option to pay, and bronze are out of luck. Any local only categories not eligible to forward. I've had a few clubs email and say, can I switch this entry to a different category? That's pretty frowned upon. So they submit to local only, and then they want to switch it to a different category so they can forward it. That's pretty frowned upon. But I think I've seen it happen.
That's not really our call, though, right?
Yeah, that's
would
more of
we
a
refer them to AF National for the rules on that, or how do you handle that?
I tend to forward them over to Sarah, or I tend to just ask and get like what's the policy on this,
Okay.
and then go. And that kind of fluctuates every year, depending on mood when I ask.
So everyone should know that we do often get, in some weird way, I think it's less now than when we first started, but AEF, because of the way they were treated and their level of expectations, they almost don't even know that open water exists. It's like the club admins just think that this is AAF software instead of open water software. It's like almost like
Absolutely.
a branding, marketing issue.
Yeah.
Now people are starting to recognize, oh, this is open water, but people at club admins just start asking us about AAF rules and things like that. And we're like, well, hey, we're just the software guys. We're going to CC Sarah. Maybe she can help you out. So that's common.
I mean, that's in part because they're emailing support@aaf.org.
Yeah.
But yeah, that distinction, because of how things started, wasn't made all that clear. It is getting better, though. And it's actually interesting. One of the on-sites I went to for PRSA, there was a couple AAF people there, and they were like, we love you guys. I hope, can't wait to start the Addies. So people are starting to realize that we're distinct from AAF. So forwarding to districts, yeah, gold entries forward for free, silver option to pay, bronze out of luck. The forwarding fees are collected.
Can you
Yeah.
explain what you mean by that on bronze?
They are not eligible to forward.
So if you win these are winner types, like in the software, they're just normal winner types, gold, silver, bronze. But Addy rules state that golds will move on to the next round of the competition for free, and silver they have to pay to participate in the next round. Now bronze, the thing about bronze is that some clubs offer a bronze winner type, but National Addies doesn't recognize bronze. And in fact, George told me in a private call, he's like, he discourages bronze because it's like he doesn't want clubs to use bronze. He offers it because there's enough that demand it, but bronze, he's like, bronze is just a participation trophy, and it actually devalues the Addy award. So he was kind of upset about bronze, but that's the reason why they don't forward.
Yeah. And then those local only categories can't forward because there's not that category at national. The distinction there being some clubs actually add, so there's 98 categories. There's subcategories underneath that. Some of them are based on the budget for the submission. Some clubs add other budget brackets into that. And so those actually fold up into that top level category and do forward. The local only categories are the ones that just don't exist at other clubs or national or anything like that.
So an example would be like Best of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That would never exist at national.
Yeah. District, there are 16 districts. Your admins at district almost always run a club as well. You'll start learning people's names. District 4, for example, or people will start getting a reputation. District 4 tends to come across a lot of issues. They're Florida. You just start seeing and recognize people. They have a similar judging process, same winner types. I apologize, I guess they don't have bronze at district or national. And then they hit the silver entries. Sorry, I almost said silver anvils. They hit the silver entries with a separate forwarding fee to forward to national if they want to. National, when things get up to national, we're pretty much out of it. National, they've been doing this for a long time. They understand the software. They don't have a lot of questions for us. That drops off in about March, which is usually about the time that we all take a break and have a bottle of wine each and kind of enjoy that things have slowed down. Sarah takes care of most everything. The only questions that she really has are adding judges, downloading, and the winner script. So when they have their awards gala, they pull out the winner script that they can read when they're presenting awards. Any questions on that? That was kind of a lot of information.
Yeah, no, is this thing going to be available that I can look at?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you
And
can,
also new slides and everything.
Yeah, well, you can send all that to me. I'll put it up on our internal help center.
Yeah.
So this was a great overview of the AAF process. Now, for those who are wondering how this even works, we do have that other video on our help center about how roll-up competitions function inside Open Water and how to configure them. So this video combined with the other video, you should have a really good understanding of how it all works together.
I've got a little more about the day-to-day stuff
That'd be great.
for the stuff that Helen, that you're going to be interacting with and everything. Just thought I would do a little context on that. So the stuff you need to know on the daily. All the emails that come in are sent to support@aaf.org. AAF gets a copy of that. So usually if something's like we were talking about, like a policy question or anything outside of a software question, we can ignore it. I like to make sure that Sarah gets those things. So if you want to just assign it to me, if you think it's a policy thing, I'll follow up with Sarah and make sure that she gets it and is able to answer it and everything. For who handles what, club setups, Finley's handling. If you have a question about that or you want to know where a club is, that's in Trello. Admins, Helen and I are handling. I'll take care of district, and then Zach Kunal and myself will handle stuff from national. And the last thing is we can't upsell them because that would be kind of a nightmare contract-wise and politically. And that's really everything I got. Like I said, this is all going to be online. You've got other videos to watch that you can watch as well. Anything from that you want to discuss?
Yeah, there was, for me, it was like little things like the URL, for example, we supply the URLs to them with that enter.americanadvertisingawards.com rather than the other one that's in there. Are there any other like kind of small rules or just, you know, situations that don't occur in other clients, like odd rules that we should know?
Yeah.
Not-
Well, I would say just the American Advertising Awards. That's just like the domain they use. I think we added the other one because we needed to do something else. I forgot what the reason was. The other thing is, I think this is only one of maybe 2 or 3 customers tops where we use our own software to collect the signups.
Yeah.
Do we do that for anyone else? Maybe Nari?
I was going to do it with Nari, but it kind of flopped there
Okay.
just because of how she runs things.
That's why you see.
I think they're actually the only ones. Yeah.
Okay, so then AAF is the only one you'll see three domains. You got the enter.americanadvertisingawards.com. That's where the competition happens, where the entrants and judges will go, and where the admins will go just to manage their competition. Then we have club enrollment. That's where we send admins to sign up to become to run their competition. And then we have that other one, AAF.secureplatform.com. That's just like an extra domain that's pretty much unused.
Well, there's also user guide too, though. Isn't that where we send them now for signing up and getting started and everything?
Yeah, but that links you to club enrollment.
Okay. Yeah.
On the Open Water side. So yeah, we have our user guide. That we only have user guides for like 5 or 6 customers. So, but beyond that, anything else that's specific to AF is more just like how they run their competition in terms of like the workflow.
Yeah.
And
If
so-
you want to,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
What you got?
I was going to say, so they go through the setup, they do fast track or open water configured. Once they're out of that, it's kind of on them to set everything up, right? We don't at that point. I guess I'm still not sure on at what point we pass it over to them and we say, you do this now, because
Right.
them during the fast track bit.
If they go open water configured, that's kind of a white glove full setup on our part. We basically set everything up for them. If they go fast track, that's pretty much exclusively on them. We're here as a resource to field any questions. At that point, we just send them their access and kind of basically say good luck.
So we send them to we send them their admin access, and then we send them a link to the userguide.co, which includes like step-by-step with videos about what they need to do to get their own competition up and running. But we don't, unless they send in support requests, we don't hear from them.
Yeah. Anything else?
Probably, but I can't think.
Yeah. I'll I recorded this, so I'll send this, and also I'll send you my slides and everything. If you have any questions, we've got an AAF chat room in Slack. You can always post them there, or if anyone is just curious about how things work, you can definitely go in and do a test submission. I'll send a link to where would be a best chapter to do a test submission through, so you can see what the form looks like and everything as well. Okay. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yep.